Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Yes, we start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, fuel subsidy removal. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank facility for palliatives to be disbursed to 50 million Nigerians. Discussions on with incoming government on modality to phase out policy. Yes, the federal government taking steps to actualize the removal of subsidy on petrol products, fuel, PMS, as also known as petrol. Now, the federal government said it has secured $800 million World Bank facility to palliatives, but according to the Minister of Finance and National Planning, this $800 million the first phase, the first tranche of palliatives to be disbursed through the cash transfers to about 50 million Nigerians, of course 10 million households, translating according to her to 50 million Nigerians. But those who are in the multi-dimensional poverty in Nigeria amount to 130 million Nigerians. So what happened to the rest of Nigerians who are in multi-dimensional poverty level in the country? But steps being taken. Whether this will be the cure-all, certainly not. But $800 million is huge amount. But that this money will be disbursed through cash transfers, because the government has talked about its register of persons who are at that level of the most vulnerable category in the society. Well, how that register was compiled, because many still doubt how far this cash transfer go in the country, as we have seen in the past. But when this happens, because the Nigerian Labour Congress already spoiling for what's going to be a tough battle when subsidy is finally removed, will all Nigerian workers be covered by this cash transfer? Not likely. Not likely. And how will that palliative get to the average worker who will have to pay more for transport fare immediately, who will have to pay more for food items, already have high food inflation in the country? How will this cash transfer solve that problem of the ordinary Nigerian who go to work every day? Well, questions, a lot of answers, but it is the headache of the incoming government. It's good to hear that the current administration is working hand in gloves with the incoming administration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu to see how this will be executed. But whether Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on assumption of office, will key into removal of subsidy immediately and ready to face the consequence, left to be seen. It needs courage, but if somebody has been referred to as the lion of Bodilum at a time, then it shouldn't be short of courage. But again, left to be seen how this fuel subsidy removal will be executed, with Labour already spoiling for a fight, as it were. Now, above the masthead of this day, organ harvesting, Obasanjo pleads for clemency for Ekweremadu wife. Yes, former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, elder statesman, global eminent citizen, yes, has written to the clerk of the Old Bailey and, of course, the UK authorities to temper justice with mercy concerning the case of Ike Ekweremadu and his wife, who have been convicted for organ harvesting. Yes, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo admitted, yes, they have breached an extant law, but given their good character, what Ruben and other lawyers call good character evidence, that it should be, the court should temper justice with mercy as the sentencing is yet to take place. But it is quite instructive that the Nigerian government never thought it wise or necessary to even intervene in this matter, given the fact that in cases where Nigerians were convicted for carrying hard drugs and were facing death penalty, government intervened. Here is a man who served as Deputy Senate President for 12 years. For 12 years, yes. And a ranking senator of the Federal Republic had this problem, not even a word for him. Rather, the FCC chose that as an auspicious time to confiscate his property until the court intervened in the matter. Well, that is the nature of our country. But thank goodness there is a certain Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former president, global eminent statesman, whose voice of reason will always prevail in matters like this, and he has done the needful. Whether Ekweremadu and wife will get some reprieve as a result of this intervention, of course, is left to be seen. Now, the other story on the front page of this day, showing that is Supreme Court comments, fascistic, menacing, unacceptable. Yes, talking about Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka's interview on Arise morning show yesterday. And of course, the newspapers are reporting that story. And the Daily Sun also reporting Soyinka's interview. Soyinka gives a damning verdict on last election. Says poll, one of worst in Nigeria. Agbakoba, ex-NBA president, insists presidential candidate must have 25% in Abuja to be declared winner. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper reporting on the subsidy removal palliative. Subsidy removal palliative, federal government gets $800 million from World Bank. Says 50 million Nigerians to benefit. Yes. Also, the same lead story, the New Telegraph newspaper, federal government secures 800 million World Bank facility to fund subsidy removal palliative. Now, other stories. The Guardian newspaper, neighbors feed fat on Nigeria's poorly funded, inefficient seaports. Local ports get 2 billion naira budgetary allocation in 8 years. Ports recovering with current reforms, NPA boss says. Yes, neighboring countries, Benin, Togo, and even as far as Ghana are receiving goods meant for Nigerian ports. Why? Because there seems to be more efficiency across the border. There seems to be less taxes over there, to the extent that Nigerian importers clear their goods in Cotonou, move them through the land border, pay duty at the border, and still have it cheaper than if it had landed in Nigeria. Not to talk of efficiency in those ports. So, we are undoing ourselves. We need to put our ports in order. Tinkan ports, and of course, the Apapa ports. If you add the traffic gridlock to the mix, then you know why importers will prefer sometimes to go to Cotonou ports or Lome ports to clear their goods. Now, still on port matter, you will think the Lekki deep sea port should come to the rescue. But Business Day is alerting everybody. Business Day newspaper. Lekki risk being new Apapa on port refinery. Yes. Remove, of course, apart from the port in Apapa, you also have tank farms that dots the whole of that space, creating gridlock upon gridlock. Then you talk about lack of proper planning. But it's also rearing its head. Business Day newspaper is also rearing its head in Apapa, according to business at Lekki, because right now, to get in and out of that corridor is difficult. This is even when the Lekki deep port has not started full operation. The refinery, the Dangote refinery, is yet to commence full operation. Now, imagine when the Dangote refinery kicks off production and the tankers are lining that route. The deep sea port is in full swing. Containers moving along that route. Well, I pity those who boast that I live in Lekki, because when that happens, the fate of Apapa GRA residents will befall Lekki. But it's not too late for the government to do the right thing. Create wider roads to get out of the space in the Lekki corridor. Now, the Punch newspaper, new House leadership, opposition reps elect plot to upstage APC. Opposition reps elect meet, form greater majority bloc to tackle APC. Groups warn members against APC infiltration, targets key House positions. Be warned, 2015 Saraki Dogara actions won't be allowed. APC tells reps elect. Well, those who have been elected on the floor of the House on the day of inauguration will decide their leaders. Parties may make proposals, but if they don't put their acts together, the legislators will decide on that day. It had happened before, and it can happen again. So much for the 10th National Assembly in the making. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, DMO, why government debt is rising as LCCI, others list ways out. Of course, one of the headaches the next government of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu will inherit from day one is huge debt stock. To budget deficit, of course, the problems, according to the Vanguard report, is as a result of continuous issuance of promissory notes and other borrowings, as well as low revenue generation. Of course, the solution, LCCI, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, saying that government should shift to equity financing and other revenue strategies, while high level of fiscal discipline is needed. NASIMA, the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, they are preferring that solution. Problem is overspending, not revenue generation. David Andori, a finance expert, is saying, well, we need political will to trim the size of government. The size of government, or also in your report, always in the fore of discussion, but nothing ever done. Now, if we just look at the foreign newspapers quickly, now, the Times of London, Tory MP in gambling cash for access scandal. Yes, Scott Benton, the MP for Blackpool, was prepared to help an investment fund to influence policy makers and obtain behind the scene information despite rules prohibiting such acts. Of course, payment, of course, that amount to breach of the long-standing rule of paid advocacy, and of course the new rule just introduced that provides restriction on providing parliamentary advice. Yes, Ruben and Ayo.
Okay, I was going to draw your attention to another story from the British papers today, and that's about Peter Mora, the husband of the former First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon. As again, another illustration of the fact that nobody is above the law, even if you are the husband of the first minister. Morel was, leader of the SNP, the Scottish National Party, and he's now being asked to come and explain what happened to £600,000. In Nigeria here, if you are a party chairman, nobody challenges any party chairman. He's seen as the position of a party chairman is seen as a stomach infrastructure position. And then, of course, the question that Professor Akiyeme raised in the case of Trump, now why did it take all of 2 years to do the investigation? A similar question is being raised with regard to Morel, that, okay, why did the matter not come up when the wife was the first minister? Why did the Scottish police, why did they have to wait till the wife left office? And is there any connection between his arrest and the fact that maybe the former first minister had prior knowledge, and then because of that she stepped down? But in any case, that may well come up as another example that we can keep citing about the need for accountability within the public space, rather than this obsession with privilege, position, power, and stomach infrastructure within the Nigerian public space.
Absolutely. Just to mention as well that an update from Mr. Babatunde Fashola, Minister of Works and Housing, on the front page, that the second Niger Bridge will be open on the 15th of May, just 14 days shy of the May 29 inauguration, and in fulfillment of their promise that it will be delivered before the end of President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure. And also that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway commuters can breathe a sigh of relief this month without giving a specific date. They say the work will be completed, and finally we can get some respite on that road. And
the original promise about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway was that it will be ready by December 2022. So sometimes these dates don't really mean anything.
Well, I can tell you that until there's serious work going on there.
Okay, well, until the people
by the end of the month, there's likely to be complete respite.
Don't give your own date.
No, it's a rule I use every day now.
Until the people see what has been done, we'll keep.
The difference this time is that there's work going on.
Well, work has been going on that road for more than 10 years.
Yes.